Hi guys, this is Stan Paillereau for BlenderCookie.com, and today we continue on our series on how to animate a book, and there's gonna be part 3, and so we're gonna focus on the mass of pages today. So basically this is a volume that's gonna represent the stack of pages in the book. The idea was to find a way to rig this mass of pages to have this nice curve and this kind of inclination at the end. So like that we have basically a volume that represents the stack of pages. We are also going to rig this to make sure that we can control the thickness of each mass of pages. So this is what you're seeing on the screen here. So the idea is to have one controller to control the number of pages you have in each side of the book. And you can see also the deformation of the mass of pages when we are opening and closing the book. So that's gonna be for today, and also at the end of the tutorial I'm gonna show you how to make nice bone shapes for the controllers. So the controllers are basically going to be the main controller here, the master that we are going to use to move around the book, and we're also going to have one controller for the thickness, obviously, and also 2 more controllers to be able to manipulate the mass of pages and the cover. So it's just a little extra in case we want to tweak some more stuff during the animation. Let me show you also the rig we are going to do. So this is all the bones we are going to create to have this nice effect. And so to start, we're going to open the part 2 file, and we're going to start from there. So let's open part 2 and we'll start. Okay guys, before we start to work on the mass of pages, I'd like to correct 2 stuff that I think that can be improved in our rig so far. And if you remember well, I had during the part 2 I had to limit the rotation of the main controller between -89 to 89, and that was because when I put -90 to 90 like that, so when I reach the extreme values I start to have the weird problems on the depth cover, a weird rotation like that. And I found that instead of using a track to constraint, we can use a damp track, and that's gonna solve the problem we have. So I'm selecting the depth cover. Let me start that you can see what I'm doing. So select the depth cover.l, and we're gonna delete the track 2 on it, and we're gonna put a damp track instead. So the target is still the depth cover, the depth edge, sorry. And so you can see immediately that I start to solve the problem we had before. So we can do the same on the def cover.r. So same thing, I'm going to delete the track 2, and I'm going to select a damp track instead, and the target is still a def edge like this. And of course on this one you want this value to be 1 because you want to target the tail of the bone and not the head. So everything seems to be quite okay, but there is still a little problem. So it's good when we reach the extreme on the right side, but on the left side we still have like a little hinge. But that could be solved very easily. So for that we're gonna do we're gonna go into edit mode, and I'm gonna select the edge R roll here, and I'm gonna duplicate it. Now first I'm gonna rename it. So it's gonna be instead of edge R roll, we're gonna name it edge roll only, like that. And I'm gonna duplicate, so Shift D to duplicate and right click to make sure it doesn't move. And this one we're gonna name it edge R roll. like that. And we want to make sure that the edge R roll now is going to be parented to the master. Okay, like that. So we also need to select cover.r, and we are going to change the parenting. So instead of being parented to edge roll now, we want it to be parented to edge L roll, like that. And the cover.l is going to be parented to the edge R roll. So we can tab back now to go to pose mode, and I'm going to select cover.l, and I'm going to delete the limit rotation, and same thing on the cover.r, I'm going to delete the limit rotation. And so basically now you can see it solved our problem on this side, and now everything is working properly. So the second problem we just need to solve now is if you hit Alt H to show the master, you're going to see that if I start to rotate on the z-axis, there is kind of a weird problem with the binding. So I realized that last time when I started to move the master around. So if we want to solve that, we just need to select the lat binding. We're going to go here to the little icon for the lattice, and we're going to change the interpolation to linear instead of B-spline for all three channels here, UV and W. And as you can see, if I select my master, I can now turn it around as I want, and everything should be fine. Okay, so let me clear the rotation like that. And okay, so we are all set up now to start on the mass of pages. So we're going to start to do first the mesh of the mass of the pages, and then we'll do all the other elements that are needed to deform it. So I'm going to go to the third layer here. I'm going to hit Shift-C to make sure that my cursor is at the center here. And I'm going to hit Shift-A to add a plane. I'm going to tab to go to edit mode, and I'm going to hit R, Y, and 90. So then I'm going to hit Edge and select everything, and B to grab the vertices at the bottom here. And I'm going to bring them in to 0 on the z-axis. Then I'm going to select those vertices on the top, and I'm going to type 1.5. So basically I'm remaking the shape of our basic pages. Then I'm going to select all my vertices and hit W to subdivide them, and I'm going to increase the number of cuts to 10, like that. So then so I tab back to go to object mode, and we're going to move our plane to 0.12 on the x-axis and 0.07 on the z-axis. And we just need now to give some thickness of this page. So hopefully in Blender there is a modifier. So if you go in the little bench for modifiers, we're going to add a solidify. So the solidify modifier is very handy when you want to give thickness to a mesh. And the thickness we want is going to be 0.12, like that. We're going to rename this mesh pages.hell. And so now I'm going to duplicate it, and so Shift D, and then right click to make sure it doesn't move. And then we're going to rename it pages.r. And I'm going to move this one minus 0.12 on the x-axis. And now as you can see, the thickness is not in the right direction. So we just need to change that on the solidify modifier. And to change the direction, you can just increase the offset from -1 to 1, like that. Okay, so that's going to be our basic mesh. We're going to do now the the two lattices that are necessary to deform those mass of pages. So with the cursor at the center, so again Shift C if you want to recenter it. I'm gonna hit Shift A, add a lattice. I'm gonna rename this lattice, let's see, we're gonna name it lat underscore pages.l. So it's gonna be the one on the left side of the book. So we're gonna change the scale of this lattice, and that's gonna be on the x-axis the 12. On the y, I'm gonna type 2, and on the z-axis is gonna be 1.6, like that. And I'm gonna move this lattice to 0.06 on the x, and it's gonna be 0.87 on the z-axis. So as you can see, the lattice is going to be a bit longer than the pages, but it's to give the a better effect at the end. I'm going to go to the property panel here of the lattice, and we're going to change the number of control points on each direction. So we're going to keep 2 on the U, but we're going to put 32 on the V and 32 on the W. And I'm going to change this time the interpolation type to linear for all 3 channels here. Okay, so what we can do now is to duplicate this lattice for the other side. So I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it and right click to make sure it doesn't move. I'm going to move it to -0.06 on the x-axis, and we're going to change the name to lat underscore pages.r, like that. So that's it for the lattice. The next thing we need to do now is to create the bones that are going to deform. Actually, that's going to deform our lattice, that's going to deform our mesh. And I'm going to explain why at the end of the tutorial, why I used lattice here and not directly, why I'm deforming the lattice and not the pages. And I'm going to show you why at the end, because there's a little trick to make something even more realistic. So we're gonna do the bones. So there's gonna be one set dedicated to the pages. So I'm gonna select this layer here, and we're gonna jump into making the rigging now. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to change the display mode from octahedral to b-bone. So in the little guy icon just on the display panel, select b-bone because I won't need to have the direction of the bone. So like that, it's going to be a bit better. So the next thing, I'm going to tab to go to edit mode. I'm going to hit Shift C to recenter my cursor, and I'm going to hit Shift A to add a bone. So I'm going to try to select it. So this is the big one here we have called bone, and we're going to move it on the second layer here. And here on the layer panel here, I'm going to select the second layer. Okay, so this bone is going to be the thickness bone. So this is the bone that's going to allow us to control the thickness. And so we're going to position it right. So it's going to be -0.1 on the, it's going to be -0.1 on the head. And that's going to be, let's see, 0.04 on the z-axis for the tail, and everything else is okay. We're just gonna hit Control Alt S so like that we can control the scale of the bone, and just shrinking down a little bit like that, just to see a bit better. I'm gonna hit Shift D to duplicate the bone and right click to make sure it doesn't move. And I'm gonna call this one base.L, and I'm gonna hit grab, and on the x.12, and I'm gonna hit Shift D, and I'm gonna hit grab x minus .24, so to put it on the other side, and this one's gonna be base.R. And yes, they should be mirror like that. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna select the top of those bones like that with B to box select, and I'm gonna hit E to extrude on the Z axis, and I'm gonna type 1.5 like that. So that's perfect. And so we're gonna rename those bones. So the one on the right is gonna be def, because it's gonna be a bone that deform the mass of pages, and to be more precise, it's gonna deform the lattice. And so it's gonna be def pages underscore, this one's gonna be bot for bottom, and dot L. The one on the other side obviously is gonna be def underscore pages underscore bot, also dot R. The one in the middle, we're gonna call it def underscore pages underscore top dot L, and we are gonna hit Shift D to duplicate it and right click, and it's gonna be dot R here like that. Okay, so I'm gonna show now this layer. So you just shift select this layer here, and I'm gonna select the cover.L and the cover.R, and I'm gonna hit Shift D to duplicate them, and M to move them on the second layer here. I'm selecting the second layer only now, and I'm gonna select this one. I'm gonna rename this one pages.L, and I'm gonna select this one, and it's gonna be pages.R. Okay, and the last bones we need to create, so I'm gonna select the tail of the pages.L. I'm gonna hit E to extrude Z, and I'm gonna type let's see, dot 24. I'm gonna select this bone. I'm gonna call it target.L. I'm gonna go to the little bone panel here, and I'm gonna uncheck connected. I'm gonna type grab Z, and it's gonna be .04. Okay, so you can save. Don't forget to save. So we have all the bones for the mass of pages. We just need now to make the right parenting. So we're gonna start with this bone on the right. So I'm gonna select this bone, then the base one. I'm gonna hit Control P, and I'm gonna select connected. Same thing on the other side. Control P, connected. I'm gonna select both sides on the both bones, on the middle. So don't forget there is two bones here. So select both with Shift and then the thickness bone. I'm gonna hit Control P, connected. Let's see. Now we need to connect this set of bone to the other one. So I'm gonna go back to this panel here. Shift select this layer. I'm gonna select this bone here, the three bone actually, so the two base and the thickness, and I'm gonna select the def bone here, the def edge bone as the last bone, and I'm gonna hit Control P, keep the offset. Let's see what we need to do. We still need to parent the pages.l to cover.l. So I'm selecting pages for .l, then cover, and then I'm going to hit Control P, keep the offset. Same thing on the other side. I'm selecting pages.r, then cover.r, and Control P, keep the offset. Let's see, did I forget any parenting? I don't think so. That should be good. I'm just gonna select this one, this layer here, and we're gonna make sure that the roll of the bone are okay. So I'm gonna select all those bones. Don't forget there is 2 on the middle, and the base and the thickness here. And I'm gonna go to armature, bone roll, recalculate the bone, and it's gonna be y-axis for this one. And then I'm going to select, so let's see, those 2 bones, and we're going to select armature, bone roll, and it's going to be on the z-axis for this one. And those 2 bone, we're going to make sure that they are roll on the y-axis. So the roll of the bones are okay. Now we can tab back to go to a pose mode, and we're gonna so select the controller. So you select both those layers, and we're gonna just make sure that the bones are set right. So everything seems to be okay because those bones are following the movement, so that's perfect. Just checking if everything is well aligned, and it seems to be good. Okay, so Alt R to create the rotation, and now we're gonna do we're gonna start to set up some constraint to make sure that everything's gonna work for the deformation of the mass of pages. So before we start to put all the constraints on the bone, I realize that I still have on pages.l and pages.r some constraints that I need to delete. So just select pages.l and delete those 2 constraints, and make sure that inherit rotation is checked on for both of those bones. Okay, so for the constraint, we are going first to make sure we can see everything better. We're going to set up all the relation between the mass of pages, the mesh, the lattice, and then the bones. So I'm going to select the mesh, pages.l. I'm going to go to the little bench here, and I'm going to add a lattice, and that's going to be lat pages.l. Same thing for the other one. It's going to be lattice, lat page.r. Then I'm going to select the lattice, and this lattice is going to be deformed. This is the lattice that's going to be deformed by the bones. So I'm going to select so this lattice, and let's see, I'm going to select armature. It's going to be the book armature, and uncheck bone envelopes. Same thing on the other one. So let me clean that first. Yeah. So select lattice pages.r, and I'm going to select armature, book armature, and uncheck bones envelope. Okay. So now we just need to set up the right vertex group for on our lattice to make sure that they can be deformed by the bones. So sorry, they're already created because I made some test pictures before. So you should have no vertex group for now. So we're gonna hit the plus button here to add 2 vertex group on the lat pages.l, and so we're actually gonna have 4 vertex group. Okay, the first one is gonna be called, so we're gonna select these bones on the right, so the def pages.l. I'm gonna copy the name, so with POM C or Control C, And so I'm selecting my lattice again, and this one's gonna be this name. So now then I'm gonna select the other one in the middle with a .l, so the dev pages top.l. I'm gonna copy the name, and so again select group the other one and V or Control V to paste the name. And let's see, the two other ones are going to be thickness, and the other one is going to be base.l. Oh, sorry, .l with a uppercase L, like this. Okay, I'm gonna, so still with my lattice pages.l selected, I'm gonna tab to go to edit mode, and I'm gonna select first all the vertices on the right, but not the ones on the bottom, so just those vertices. And I'm gonna select bottom dev pages bottom, dev pages bot.l, and I'm gonna hit assign. I'm gonna select the same thing on the other side, and I'm gonna select this one, assign. And then I'm gonna select those vertices here on the bottom left. I'm gonna select thickness and assign, yes, and the other one, so the last vertices, and I'm gonna select base and assign. Okay, so now if I select for example dev pages bot.l and I start to rotate, you can see that it starts to deform my lattice here, and it deformed also my mass of pages, because I applied a lattice to this mesh. So let me clear the rotation here. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing on this lattice. So create 4 vertex group here. So the name is gonna be so this one. So we're gonna do exactly what we've done before. I'm just selecting the bone with a .r at the end, also the dev pages bones, and copy the name. And as you can guess, this one's gonna be thickness, and this one is gonna be base.r. Okay. I'm gonna go to edit mode, and as we did before on the left side, we're gonna select all those ones, and it's gonna be the top, assign, and all those control points here, and it's gonna be the bottom, assign. Those ones gonna be the thickness, assign, and this one is gonna be base.r and assign, and tab back to go to object mode. Okay, so basically now when I'm start to move those bones, you can see that it deform. So for example, if I start to rotate those 2 bones at the same time, it's gonna deform our lattice and also our mesh, because on the mesh we have a lattice modifier. Okay, so next steps, it's gonna be to put some parameters and constraints on the bones. So I'm gonna select first the dev pages bot.l, and I'm gonna go in this little bones here icon, and if you go on the down here, you have a panel called deform. And on this panel, you're gonna see some options that's gonna allow us to curve the bones. So super great, that's gonna give us the curves of the mass of pages. So first I'm gonna give 32 segments here, and we're gonna skip 1 and 1 for ease in and ease out for now, and we're gonna do that for all of them. Okay, there is, I don't know why I just delete those. Okay, same thing here. don't forget to save, often save. And so if I select now this def pages bot.l and I start to rotate it, you can see that the bones start to have a nice curve like that. So exactly what we want, because if I select, for example, those two bones and I rotate them, you can see that we start to have what we want with the nice curve for the pages. Okay, so there is some constraint to do now before we move on to the next part, and that's going to be when the book is actually closed. So we want to make sure that all those bones are resting like that horizontally, but when the book is open, like right now, we want to make sure that those bones are targeting the base of the cover. And to do that, we are just going to, if I select the def pages bot.l, I'm going to add a constraint. So go to the little constraint panel here, and we're going to add a damp track. And that's going to attract, you can guess, the target bones that we created. So target.l for this one. If I select the top.l here, same thing, I'm going to add damp track, book armature, and that's going to be, again, the target.l. So let me delete these drivers because this is from some test I was doing before, sorry. So it shouldn't be like that. And as you can see, we can actually control the head and the tail of this damp track. And so when it's 0, it means that this bone is targeting the bottom of this bone, and so the head of the bone. And if you put this value to 1, that means that this bone is targeting the tail of the target. So we can put for now a value of 0.5. That's good like that. So let's do the same thing on the other side. So damp track. Oh no, this one's going to be R. Oh, I forget to rename this bone. So it should be target.r. So I'm selecting the one on the other side. And just change the name to target.r. And so this bone should be targeting target.r. This one. And the last bone here, it's going to be damp track also, book armature. So let me delete this driver again from my test, and it's going to be target.r here, and we're going to type 0.5. Okay, so this is almost what we want. So let me explain quickly why I did it like this. Why I have set up 4 bones to deform actually animate, because I mean, I could have used just one, but because I wanted this little inclination here, I needed to make sure that the top of my mass of pages is deformed differently than the bottom one. And so I'm just recreating what's happening in real life, because if you watch, all the pages have the same length, and so the one that's going to start here on the left side is going to obviously finish further than the one that is on the middle, and that's why we have, this little inclination at the end. So I wanted to recreate that with the bones. That's why I needed to create 4 bones, one for the top and one for the bottom. So it works quite okay. The last thing we need to do is actually we're gonna so go to the little bones here, and you can see that on the deform for the curved bones we can change the ease in and ease out. So if you start to play with it, you can see that it's actually changing the curves And the way it's starting is, so for example, if I increase this one a lot, like 2, it means that it's going to be very tangent here, and it gives us a very a very strong curve here. And this one's going to control the ease out, so at the end, so if I put 0, it means that I have almost no ease out. I have no ease out actually, and so I can play with this value. So the right setup I found that worked the best is actually if you select, so on this one, the top one is going to be, so for now I'm going to put 1 and 0.5 here, and on this one it's going to be, on the bottom one it's going to be 0.5 for both. Like that, and we can do the same on the other side. So for the top one, 1 and 0.5, and for the bottom one, it's going to be 0.5 for both. Okay, so it's not too bad. It's almost what we were expecting to have, and so the last thing I'm going to show you is for the rig is how to control the thickness of these pages. So as you can see, the result is not too bad, but now we want to be able to control the thickness to have a different, let's say, different thickness of mass of pages on both sides, so more pages, for example, on the left or on the right. So I'm going to show you how I set up everything to make this work. So if right now, if I'm taking the thickness bone and I start to move it on the x-axis, you can see that it starts to give us something that we want, because it changes the thickness of the pages at the spine here. But unfortunately, it's not going to change the thickness on the other part of the mass of pages. So for instance, at the end is not going to change. And if I want to modify the thickness at the end of my mass of pages, I need to select this bone and start to change the dam track value here. And for example, I probably need to bring it to 0. For example, if I want, for certain values that will correspond to the thickness here. So for example, here I select my thickness and I type minus 0.12. So that means that all the thickness is going to be on this side. So that means that I need to bring this to 0. But we still have a problem because the thickness here at the middle is still very too thick. And that is something that I can actually tweak if I change the ease in value. So basically, if I need to change the thickness of my pages, I need to change 3 parameters: the position of this bone. I need to change the ease in here, and I need to change the head tail. So the different possibility, and so I can animate those values, for example, if this is during an animation. But the great part with Blender is that we have drivers, and we're gonna use that because it's very much more handy. So it's a little bit more work because we need to set up some stuff, but some more stuff. But at the end, it's gonna be much more handy to have. We're gonna be able to move only one bone and to make sure that all the other values are gonna follow as we want. So I'm gonna select this bone, and I'm gonna right-click on this value here for the damp track, and I'm gonna add a driver. And I'm gonna go here to the little bones panel, and same thing on the ease in. I'm gonna right click and add a driver. So we can split this view in two. So if you select the little cross here, and so you can split the view in two like that, and we're gonna select graph editor, and here we're gonna select drivers. So you can see that with this bone selected, I have, so you're probably gonna have to expand this first, and you're gonna see that we have our two driver. I'm gonna hit N to bring my right panel, and we're gonna set up those drivers. So let's start first with head and tail. So this is this value. So I'm gonna enter the right value. I mean, what I found worked the best. But I mean, it's just a matter of a little bit of mathematics to find how it works. But basically the way I did it is just experimenting. So for example, if my thickness is here at the center, I know that I want this value to be 0.5, and if this thickness is at minus 0.12, so totally on this side, I know that I want this value to be 0. So after it's just a matter of doing some mathematics to find the right value. So I'm going to delete this modifier, and the driver obviously is going to be the thickness bone and the X location, and don't forget to put the space to transform space. And so the function I found that works perfectly, it's going to be, so let me check. Yes, so that's going to be 1 under, so 0.20. So 1 on 0.24, and that's going to be multiplied by var, which is the value of the X location of the thickness, and it's going to be plus 0.5. Okay. And the ease in, it's gonna be, so it's still gonna be the thickness. They're gonna drive the value of the ease in, and that's gonna be the X location, the transform space. And this time the function, I mean the expression is 0.8 plus var by 2.5. So same thing, I just start to experiment to see what was working the best, and I found that that's a good expression. So we're gonna copy this driver to the other bones on the other side. So with this bone still selecting, I'm gonna right click to copy the driver here. I'm gonna select the bone on the other side. I'm gonna pass the driver. So you can see that it appears here on the graph editor. And the only thing we need to do is to add a minus sign at the beginning here. And hit enter. And for the ease in, so I'm selecting this bone again. I'm going to go to the bones panel and deform panel here. And I'm going to copy the driver, select the other bone, and pass the driver. So it's up here on the bone. Make sure that here you're selecting the right one. And here instead of the plus, it's going to be a minus. And let's see, everything should be okay. So let's check that. So I'm going to merge those two views to increase the size of the viewport like that. And now if I select the thickness bone and I start to move it on one side or the other, you can see that the thickness is acting exactly as we want. So I can make sure that I have, for example, more pages on this side than on this side. Perfect. Only last thing we need to do is to set up some limit for this bone, because we can go crazy if we go more than more than it should be. So we're gonna add a limit location on this bone. So I'm just selecting here the little, so with the thickness bone selected, select the bone constraint panel, and we're gonna add a limit location. Check minimum and maximum X for transform and local space. And the minimum is gonna be minus 0.12, and the maximum is gonna be 0.12. And actually we're going to actually put minus 0.1199, and same thing here, 1199. And why that is that even though it's written minus 0.12, I actually cannot go further than minus 0.1199. And the way I'm doing that is that if I put the limit to minus 0.12, for example, for this side, I'm gonna have faces that's gonna overlaps, and when we're going to render that, we're gonna start to have some issues with artifact that's gonna appear. So I'm just making sure that I mean this side is not gonna be just one plane, but there is a little bit of thickness to make sure that it's gonna render properly. Okay, so that's all for the thickness. Oops, didn't select the right one. Let's see. Yeah, and I'm gonna hit Alt J to clear the location. And so we have almost everything working for the mass of pages. So let me show you what we need to do now is if I select all my my layers here to bring my the rest of the book, what you can see is that, let's see, little problem with my mouse, sorry. Okay, so as you can see, if I go into front view, I have a problem. I have a little problem because on the spine here, we can see that the mass of pages is not touching, so we still need to correct that. So to make sure that the mass of pages are resting on the binding, on the spine of the book, we just need to set up a couple of modifiers on the mesh. So I'm just selecting pages.l, the mesh, and I'm gonna go to the modifier panel, and I'm gonna add first a subdivision surface, and I'm gonna set up it to simple optimal display, and I'm gonna bring it up like that. So this allows me to have enough vertices in between my two faces after the solidified modifier, to make sure that I can follow the nice curve here. And the other modifier we're gonna use is shrink wrap, sorry for my bad pronunciation. I guess this is shrink wrap. And so what this modifier does is actually it's like it's projecting the vertices on a surface. And so there are different way to different mode, but we're gonna stay in nearest surface point like that. And so we're gonna project those on the binding. So we just need to, on the target, select binding. So for now, all the vertices of our pages has been projected on the binding. So it's not what we want. We actually just want the base of the mass of pages to be projected. And to do that, we just need to create a vertex group. So I'm going to the little triangle here, I'm gonna add a vertex group that I'm gonna call a shrink wrap, yeah, like that. I'm gonna go to edit mode like that, and I'm gonna select the bottom vertices. So with Alt and right click like that, I'm gonna assign to the shrink wrap like that. And what I'm gonna do, because I'm in edit mode, I know we're gonna have some problems, so let's do that right now. Is we're gonna do create an edge loop here. So Control R to create the edge loop, and we're gonna bring down like that. And we're gonna create another one. So Control R again, and just right click to make sure that this is in the middle. So we're gonna tab back now, just making sure that okay. So remove all the vertices on the vertex group. So I just hit select to see what was assigned to this vertex group, and all those vertices were assigned, and I just want the bottom one. So just hit select and remove, and then we reselect the one on the bottom and assign. And like that, I'm making sure that there is only the one on the bottom. Let me select my pages.l again, and here on the shrink wrap modifier, we're going to select this verticals group. And now you can see that only in the bottom of our mass of pages is projected on the binding, and this is exactly what we want. And so I'm gonna tab back to go to edit mode again, and I'm gonna set everything smooth, and I'm gonna hit recalculate to make sure that the normals are okay. So and the last thing we need to do, because it seems to be not very nice here, we can add actually an edge split to make sure that everything looks great like that. So basically an edge split modifier is just making sure that all your edges are sharp like that. So it's exactly what we want. So that's gonna be all for this side. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So I'm selecting pages.r. I'm gonna add a subdivision surface. I'm gonna hit simple. I'm gonna bring it up like that. I think we can increase the render to 3. Let me do that on the other side also. Yeah, like that's gonna be even smoother when we're gonna render. So we're gonna create, so in edit mode, we're gonna create our edge loop. So Control R, bring it down, Control R again, and we're gonna add an edge loop, vertex group, sorry, here. I'm gonna select the bottom vertices here. So let's click shrink wrap like that, and assign like that. And I'm gonna add my shrink wrap modifier. The target's gonna be the binding, and I'm gonna select shrink wrap like that. So let's see. So everything seems to be good. The two mass of pages are wrapped onto the binding, so exactly what we want. And what we can do now is start to manipulate the main controller and close the book to see if everything looks good. And so it's almost good, but you can see that there is a little hole here, and so we're gonna see this problem after, but I think this little hole can be, yes, it's gonna be taken care of when there's gonna be enough subdivision surface. As you can see, if I increase to 3, we don't have the hole that much. I mean, it's not gonna be seen from far, from here, for example, we don't see it, so So that's okay. And let me see, we still have a little bit of problems. So let me check on this one. 0. Oh, okay. This is because our target seems to be too short. You can see that this bone is targeting this bone. No, sorry, this bone. Where is it? This one. So this bone is targeting this one, and this one is too short. So it should arrive at the top of the cover here. So I guess we just need to. So if you go to edit mode, I'm gonna select the target.al, and we're gonna change. So let me see. Okay, so here we should have 0.04 for the head, because it should be tangent to the cover, and here we should have 28 instead of 0.3 on the tail. We're gonna hit G to grab and right click. It's just to making sure that the change is going to be mirror on the other on the target.r here. And so let's see. Yes, the result should be pretty good now. Okay, it seems to be not too bad. Let me see. Oh, doesn't seem to work. Let's see. Grab. Oh, this one is it's still connected. I think. Yes. If you select the target.r and you go to the little bone here, make sure that you uncheck connected here. Grab this one, and so this one you select the pages.r, and we're gonna make sure that here it's gonna be 0.02 because you want to make sure this one is flat like that. So I think now everything should be perfect. Yeah. Okay. So the if we start, we can play with the main controller and see what this gives us. So just checking if there is no artifact, something. No, everything seems to work pretty well. So Alt-R to clean the rotation. I'm gonna select those two bones here and the thickness bone, and I'm gonna hit M, and I'm gonna move them here on the first at the bottom here. And if I go there, just select, and that's gonna be the bone, all the bones necessary to control the whole rig. And we can actually bring also the cover.r and L. So I'm selecting this layer. I'm selecting cover.r and L, and I'm gonna hit M. I'm gonna bring them here on this layer. I'm gonna show only this one. And so that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if I hit Alt H, 7th with the master, so that's gonna be all the bones we are going to use to control. I mean the whole book. The master basically the one that we're gonna grab and to move everything around. Okay, so the last thing I'm gonna show you on this tutorial is gonna be how to make some nice bone shapes to manipulate those bones, and that's gonna be all. So let's deep into that. So I'm going to start with the master bone shape. So I'm gonna go to this layer at the end here. We are gonna hit Shift C to make sure that our cursor is centered. I'm gonna hit 7 to go to top view, and we are gonna add with Shift A plane. And so I'm gonna go to edit mode and hit X and delete only faces like that. I'm gonna go to tab to go to object mode, and I'm gonna bring the cover like that. So the first layer, go to edit mode again. So I'm gonna select all my vertices and hit scale, S to scale. And I'm gonna scale like this, and I'm gonna hit S and X to scale on the X-axis. I'm gonna bring it just to have a line that is around the cover like that. Then I'm gonna hit E to extrude and right click, and then S to scale, and we're gonna scale it up like that. I'm gonna hit S and X to scale it on the X-axis only. Okay, now I'm gonna select all my vertices and X delete only faces. And then we're gonna delete, we're gonna select those two vertices here and X, delete the edges. Same thing here, X edges. Here, X edges. Same thing here, X edges. Now I'm gonna select those two vertices here. I'm gonna hit W to subdivide. I'm gonna do it twice. I'm gonna select these vertices at the bottom here. I'm gonna hit W to subdivide and twice also. And then I'm gonna select those two vertices and F to fill, those two vertices and F to fill, and I'm gonna select those two vertices also and S and X. I'm gonna bring them around the spine like that. So that's gonna be our bone shape for the master. So we can actually bring this layer also. I'm gonna select the master, and I'm gonna select. Oh, sorry. Let's rename first this bone shape. So right now it's called plane. We're gonna call it BS underscore master, like that. I'm gonna select the master, and so if you go to the little bone icon here, there is a panel called display, and you have an option which is custom shape, and we're gonna select for that the BS master. So as you can see, so it's not in the right direction. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna select the BS master. I'm gonna go to edit mode. I'm gonna select all my vertices. I'm gonna hit R, X, and -90. I'm gonna tap back to go to object mode, and in object mode we can now rotate back with RX 90 degrees. I'm gonna go in top view, and I'm gonna no, we can't see. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tab to go to edit mode, select all the vertices and S to scale, and you're just making sure that the master now is taking all the space we need. So like that it's okay, I guess. You can tab back to go to object mode, and we can scale it back just to make it fit, just in case we need after to make some modification. Now we know that if I do modification on the bone shape in edit mode, I know that's going to be replicated on our bone, so that's exactly what we want. So that's gonna be it for the master. We're gonna do now the main controller. So I'm gonna select only this layer. I'm gonna hit Shift C to recenter my cursor, and so I'm gonna add Shift A to add a UV sphere. And on this UV sphere, I'm gonna change the number of segments to 8 and number of rings to 8 also. I'm going to tab to go to edit mode, select all your vertices and X only faces. I'm going to select all my vertices again. I'm going to hit scale to scale it down like that, and I'm going to hit G to grab on the Z axis, so Z. I'm going to grab it something around here, and I'm going to select the vertex on the bottom here. I'm going to hit E to extrude Z. I'm gonna type 0 here. So basically, as you can see for the bone shape, usually you try to do a shape that has no faces, because it's gonna be view in wireframe. I mean, well, yes, in wireframe mode for the bones. So you won't see the faces anyway. So basically when you created a bone shape, you just need to delete all the faces and just make a shape that can be recognized for the purpose. So for the main controller, it's going to be an handle that we're going to rotate around. So I thought that a sphere like that with just one segment at the bottom could be a good bone shape. There is no perfect solution, so just try to find something that works. So I'm going to select now my main controller. I'm going to hit Shift S to put my and a cursor to select it, to put my cursor at the bottom of my bone. And I'm going to select now the bone shape that I'm going to rename BS controller. Like that, and I'm going to hit Shift S, selection to cursor, like that. I'm going to select my my controller, and same thing here. If you go to the little bones icon and to display custom shape, I'm going to select BS controller. So as you can see, we still have a problem of direction, so we need in edit mode to modify. So when you have this kind of problem, you need to make the modification in edit mode, because if I start to, for example, rotate it in object mode, you can see that it does not affect the bone. So every modification has to be done on edit mode. So here I'm gonna go to edit mode, select everything, and I'm gonna hit R and Z 90 degrees, and I'm gonna tap back. Let's see, if I select everything and I move, so first I'm gonna put my cursor here, so Shift S, cursor to selected, and I'm gonna go into the 3D cursor here. So if I go to edit mode, go to front view, so if I rotate, so you can see that it's not rotating the right way. Let's see. So first I need to rotate, tap back to go to object mode, rotate Z 90 degrees, and now if you go to edit mode and you rotate, yeah, it's working. So and now I'm gonna rotate Y and minus 90, like that. Now tap back to go to object mode, I'm gonna rotate back, so rotate Y 90, like that. I'm gonna scale it down, and I'm gonna see, I think we can do it a little bit bigger, so I'm gonna go to edit mode, and I'm gonna scale it a little bit. Okay, sounds okay. Yeah, it's maybe a little too big, but that's okay. You can trick as much as you want to have the perfect handle for your rig. Now we can do maybe the thickness bone. So I'm going to select only this layer. I'm going to hit Shift C to recenter my cursor, and I'm going to add a cube. I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to select all my vertices on the top here, and I'm going to hit S and 0. No, go back to bounding box center, and I'm going to hit S and 0 now. I'm going to select all my vertices and remove doubles, and X to delete only the faces. I'm going to select everything and scale it down like that, and I'm going to bring it up some here. So let's see, now we're going to select this layer also. I'm going to select, so with the cube selected, I'm going to rename it BS underscore thickness, because this is the bone shape for the thickness. We are going to select the thickness bone, and same here, we're going to select BS thickness on the custom shape. So as you can see, it's still rotated, so I'm going to select my BS thickness. I'm going to go to edit mode, and let's see, I'm going to hit period to rotate around the cursor, and I'm going to hit RX, and let's see, minus 90 degrees. And in object mode, I'll do the same the other way, RX 90 degrees. I'm gonna select my thickness bone, Shift S, cursor to selected, and this, now I'm gonna select my bone shape, Shift S, selection to cursor. I'm gonna scale it down like that till it fits like that. I'm gonna tab to go to edit mode. Make sure you select all the vertices with A and then scale it up. And we're gonna try to make yeah, like that, it's okay. And then grab Z, just try like that to align with the grid like that, and that should be okay. Maybe it's a bit too big, so I'm gonna select only this layer here because it's more easy to select the bone shape. And I'm gonna select everything, and let's see, I'm gonna scale it down and grab on Z. Let's see, should be, we're gonna show everything here just to have an idea. Yes, not too bad, it's gonna be okay. Okay, so next bone shape we're gonna do, so we just have one more to do, and we're gonna apply the same to all the other ones we have. So it's gonna be to manipulate the cover and the mass of pages. So I'm gonna hit Shift C again to recenter my cursor, and I'm gonna go in top view with 7, and I'm gonna hit Shift A to add a circle. I'm going to change the number of vertices to 8. I'm going to go tab to go to edit mode and S to scale it down. Grab on the X-axis. I'm going to select these vertices here. Extrude X. Right, left click, and we're going to bring it to 0 here. And I think we can scale that down a little bit. So select the bounding box center and yeah, like that, and we can grab it a little bit like that, and let's see what it gives us. So we're gonna select cover.l, so the other one maybe, yes, and just let's rename first our bone shape. So when you cannot select because we have a bone in front of it, usually go back to the select only the layer where you have your bone shapes, and I'm gonna call it this one cover like that. Go back here, select the cover, select here BS cover. So as you can see, it's again rotated 90 degrees. So I need to, if I can, yeah, select this one to the bone shape, go to edit mode, Shift C to recenter the cursor, period, to rotate it around the cursor, and I'm gonna rotate on the Z. And it's gonna be 90 degrees, like that. Tap back to go to object mode, where put them back, rotate Z, minus 90. If I scale it up to make it match, yeah, like this, and go to edit mode, select everything, 7 to go into top view, and S, and we're gonna put it like, yeah, so let's see, something like that should be okay. And I'm gonna select only the circle and S to select bounding box center again, and S to scale it up like that. I'm gonna select the pages here. Same thing, I'm gonna select here the BS cover. So they are overlapping. So what we can do, if we go into edit mode, I'm gonna select so the tail of my pages.l, this one, I'm gonna bring it inside like that, and because this is mirror, I don't need to do it on the other side, so like that should be okay. And when I tab back, you can see that now I have them separate like that, and we just need now to select the PS cover for pages.r and cover.r, and I think we have all of the bones, so we can unselect this layer. And we're gonna show all our geometry here. I'm gonna select my lattice here and hide it. Same for the other one on the other side. And we have, we can also hide this one. And we have everything. So let me manipulate to show you what we can do now. So basically you have the master that's gonna be very useful to position your book wherever you want, like this, for example. You're gonna have the thickness to control the thickness of your pages, and then you're gonna have the main controller to open and close the book. You can open, for example, a little bit. You can close a little bit the book, for example, and you can use these handles to, for example, you want to put a hand in between the cover and the mass of pages. So you can have that, doing something like that, for example. So that's basically it, guys, for today. Okay, guys, before I wrap up everything, I wanted to show you a little extra thing that I found was pretty cool. And as you can see, my Blender, the colors of my Blender changed. This is because this is another version of Blender, and the version I'm using right now is a build from graphical.org with the advanced array modifier from so the developer is Fabio Russo. So thanks for him because it allowed me to have a lot more fun with Blender. And I'm just gonna show you the little trick because this is I think looks a little bit more realistic. But I don't encourage you to use it in production mode because it's not merging the trunk at all for now. I'm not even sure if it's gonna be. So if you want to play around, you can download this build on graphical.org. And so this is the build with advanced array modifier. And so let me show you what we can do with that. So basically that's going to explain also why I'm using lattice to deform my mass of pages and not directly the mass of pages. So I use lattices because in this build what I can do is if I select my pages.hel, I'm going to change the thickness in my solidify modifier to 0.01, and I'm going to add an array. And you can get that this one's going to be different from the official arrays of Blender, because this custom array allows you to make some randomized transform, which is really great. So I'm going to put in the relative set -1.05, and here for the randomized transform on the x I'm going to hit .01. And I'm going to increase the number of the number of object to, let's see, 55. No, it's more. It's going to be 70. Oh, much more. 105 maybe. Yeah, like that. I'm gonna put the subsurface to 0 to make sure that I'm not gonna kill my computer. And so it's gonna be a little bit more if we want to be super precise. Maybe 120 should do the trick. And as you can see, with the randomized, let me hide this. And with the randomized array like that, I obtain something that is quite realistic actually, because it looks better and look more like a stack of pages. So that was a little trick I wanted to share with you guys. So you can play with that as much as you want. And the cool part is that now if I manipulate everything, so it's very slow because I have a lot of geometry, but and my computer is a bit slow, but you can see that you can manipulate everything, and it's gonna work perfectly. And this is because we used a lattice to deform the geometry, and we don't deform directly the geometry, and that's why we can do this cool trick. And just to finish, you can actually do that with the regular modifier in Blender, but the fact that it's not random, it's not gonna give you a very nice result because it's too regular, so it's not as nice as this cool advanced array modifier. So go and play with that. That's now pretty fun. We have our rig done now, and so next time we're gonna start to combine the flipping page we have and this book, and depending on the time for part 4, we're probably gonna do the rendering in part 5. I don't know yet. We'll see how long it's gonna be for part 4, but we'll see that. So until then, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any question, don't hesitate to put a comment at the bottom of the video, and I will do my best to answer that. Well, I see you next time, guys. Bye.